Welcome back, everyone. Today is part two of building the roof over David's memorial area. Boy, the lighting is not very good there, is it? There we go. That's better. Not that you want to see me, but I got to see in the camera what I'm looking at. Anyway, so I had to go run to get the cameras because, as usual, I didn't do what I was going to do. I was going to pre-stain these, so I got the lumber out and I loaded it up on the forks of the tractor. And what I'm making, the first thing I'm making is the trusses. There's going to be 3 timber trusses, 6x6 trusses, 12-foot rafters, 14 feet wide, and it will have 4 spaces in between. It will have a center spoke and 2 spokes that come off that. So I wasn't planning on doing this, so I already cut one of them. But if you've never seen this saw before, this is the largest skill saw that Skill makes. It's one of the largest. I believe Makita makes one that's the same size. But this one is very light. I've showed it. I have a video specifically on this saw when I got it. And so what I'm doing right now is these are the rafter portions of the truss. So it's a 12 and 12 pitch, which is a 45-degree angle. So it's 9 3/4 inches back from wherever you want to cut it, roughly. So I'm going to use this large Swanson speed square to give me my angle without having to look at a line. So on this, it really doesn't matter too much. I'm going to cut these again. They're going to be 12 feet long. These are 12-foot 1. So I can cut off a little bit extra on those, and then I'll just cut it to 12 feet. And you might say, well, why don't you just measure up and cut it to 12 feet on the top? It's because the bottoms are not always very good. These aren't too bad, but there's quite a few of them, especially on the 8x8s, where the ends are they're not finished. A lot of them aren't even square. So I'm basically cutting I'm cutting the top 45. I will hook on here and measure down 12 feet and cut the bottom so that that is straight. So I just thought I'd give a little, I'm going to do each portion of this in the series. So this one will be building the trusses. So this is the beginning portion of it, and I still have to cut the rest of them, but I'm going to show you cutting one, and then I'm not going to make it be 14 hours long. So I'll show cutting one, how to do it, and then I'll do some intermittent ones, and then I'll show when I'm putting it together. Hey, Sam. Well, and what you want to do is you want to make, I've talked about this in other videos before, but there's a crown, what's called a crown in a board. If you look down the board, it looks like a bridge, or it looks like a tractor trailer flatbed where it's curved up in the middle. So what you want to do is you want that up, which is this side. So we're going to cut it this way, so then it will turn upright. This way, when pressure's on it and over time, it will sag down straight if you did it the other way. And the worst thing is when people put one up and one down. So if you've got a 1/2-inch crown, let's say, if it's 1/2 inch from, you snapped a line from one end to the other, in the center it's 1/2 inch. If you put one up and one down, you'll be off by 1 inch. You'll have a deflection, and you'll look down the roof and it'll look like a drunk man did it, which probably was done that way if somebody actually did that, but a lot of people don't know. So I've talked about that before. So what I did is I've measured back 10 inches from there, and I will now cut it there. And make sure you put your clamp, this one doesn't matter, but you want to make sure this clamp, that you have the rest of the clamp part facing down. Otherwise, when you do this, you'll end up ramming your elbow into it or your wrist, so you don't want to do that, especially with this big saw. All right, I'll cut that. Let me set up to the other camera. All right, so this is where the base and the spokes all come together. I have this plate, and the way that they're made, I don't know exactly why they're this way. You see, this is like 2.5 inches wide, and this is 4 inches wide. So I don't really know why those were not bigger. Maybe because of the intersection here. But anyway, in order to keep the gaps the same on this board and to keep them the same here, I'm making a, put that down for a second, make a pattern, because you're not cutting this in the center. You're not putting an equal 45. This one is a little bit longer than this one, so it's not, you know, it would be, gotta get my screen back on, like it would be here to be in the center. So I'm making a pattern so that when I cut the right side, I can use it, and then I'll flip it over so that I have one for the left side. So I marked it. And just to be safe, I've got my square. This is a sheetrock square. It's a 54-inch square. So anyway, I can't do it with one hand, but so I get the mark. I've got it marked up top where it goes. I can get the length and get these together, and I'll show it, because there's a bracket on all of these. There's a T that goes there. There's a angled V that goes on each bottom, and there's one on each side. So just wanted to point that out while I'm making them, and they're about 5 feet long, a little bit less than 5. So I got a 16, so I can get 3 out of 1, and I'm going to start cutting those now. Get this one in. I wanted to stain these ahead of time. I was just cutting the lumber to just to get roughly what I needed, and I was going to pre-stain everything. Had very good intentions, and of course, good intentions, right? When I was a kid, I used to build models, and I could never wait to paint all the pieces ahead of time. Always used to put it together and try to paint it afterwards, and I always wished I didn't. And it's going to be the same with this. And the second reason is a lot of these, because they were in the pile, you know, loaded up on the trailer, they didn't dry out, and you don't want to stain pressure treated. Even these, the rafter portions of this, they are definitely still not dry. So I'm going to put them together, and I am going to stain them on the ground before before we lift it up. Anyway, and I did get good news. Chris is going to come. He said he will come probably be the first week of December after Thanksgiving. So that would be good. So it gives me a little time to get these up and ready to go. But that's where we are right now, so I'm going to keep on going. So here's getting the spoke in. Nice and tight fit. Nice Harbor Freight dead blow hammer. Just go even. Bang one side over the other. There we go. And I marked my lines here. I got it, you know, so I knew exactly where it was. You don't want to have this off at all. You want these all to be 45s. You can check them. Square. This is 12-inch. Perfect. There we go. One more to go on this one, and 2 more trusses. And what I'm using to fasten these, I'm going to put some toenails of screws as well, where they won't be seen under the brackets. But I'm using 8-inch timber lock. These are as strong as 3/8 lags, and I've countersunk because I like headlocks. A headlock has a flat head on it, but these in the larger ones, they only come with the hex. But what I'm doing is, with a 5/8 bit, I've countersunk in so that the heads won't stick up, because this is that's where the sheathing will be, so we do not want them sticking up. So I've got two there, there'll be 2 there, and then there'll be a T-plate. You'll see it afterwards. There'll be a big metal plate that will be bolted through here and through there. So very strong, but this is to get it to the point where I can put the plates on. All right, here's one truss. It's not done. I've got to add these plates on, but I lifted it up put it on 4x4s because there's a plate that goes on either side. Oh, the lighting's not very good. I tried to close the door a little bit. Apologize for that. So there's the spoke at the bottom. It's really tough with this kind of timber. They're not all the same size or the same thickness. This one is a hair up, and I can chisel it down, but then it'll be recessed and it'll look. I think I'm going to belt sand it is what I'm going to do. I'm going to belt sand it from the top right there to the bottom of the spoke just to taper that down a little bit. Well, there we go. I don't really like to do that because it kind of takes the patina away from when you stain it, because it hasn't aged the same as the other, but that's pretty good right there, because that bothers me, stuff like that. I know when it dries out it'll move even more, and it is timber, so it's not supposed to be perfect, but I don't operate that way. So basically I'm going to I got a punch that's the same size as the hole, a center punch, so I can get the center. I'll clamp those down, I'll punch it, I'll get a shot of that. And drilling straight through is going to be the hardest part here. If you could do it on a drill press, it's one thing, but when you're doing it by hand, I have a pretty good eye for doing it so long. But the grain sometimes will grab it and likes to detour it if you hit a knot or something that you don't see. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably drill through part way on one side and then get the plate where I want it on the other side after I stand it up and drill through the other way, just so they'll kind of intersect. As long as the inner and the outer, then the bolt in the center won't matter, because you want, when you look at it, you're going to see both sides of this truss, obviously, because these are exposed. That's the whole idea. So that's what I'm going to do now. And just so you know, one of these, probably this one, I'm going to have a stained glass made, so there'll be 4 triangular stained glass windows that are going to go in this end, that you'll see. And I think it's going to be the side that's closest to David's house, because that's where the sun shines through, so from inside it will look good rather than block up the view. I do like to look out at the sky over the lake. As you've seen, I got the cloud that with Christ on the cross, and I've gotten other clouds and other birds and the eagle and the hawks and the cardinals and everything that fly there. So I believe that's going to be the side that it'll be. So, well, just wanted to give you that interim shot, and I'll get some of me installing these. All right. So with this, let me just get my hammer. I was going to start down that end, but the sun is not very good. So hopefully you can see this, but this is a punch that's supposed to be the same size hole diameter as what those holes, what they told me, but they clearly did not make them to the size that they said. So I had to mill that down a little bit so it fits. But you want to make sure that this doesn't move, so it's clamped. The space is equal all the way around, and this has got a center punch. So these will be through bolted, and when I stand it up, I will put them together. I'm going to bring the Yanmar in here and stand it up. Now the one thing that I'm not going to do over here, I'm not going to put this plate that holds the ridge in place, because that's going to be too hard to get the ridge in. I want to get the ridge installed and then put it in place like this. This way I know they're exactly where the ridge will be, because again, the ridge has crown to it as well. And I'm going to squeeze it together to get it as close as I can, but bending a 4x8 is not going to be the easiest thing. So I want to make sure that this plate contacts the ridge exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a board across here so that, and bolt it through so that I can lift it up by that, and I won't have to worry about that tweaking without having the plates holding it together. So, all right. This is where you want to be as plumb as you can. These are Diablo bits, very sharp. And I do have a vacuum over here. I'll vacuum these up after. This one has four. Four go on the rafter portion and 3 go on, because he can't really fit. There's not enough room, not enough meat on the bottom, so they only put 3 holes. See, that one felt like it hit something. Now the hole looks straight. That one, I wouldn't be surprised if that one's off a little bit. May have to fix it from the other side. That hit something. And don't push with these bits. Let it pull itself through. I don't like that stuff blowing all over the place. And what I usually do, because when it's green wood like this, you know, it makes splinters where it cuts in. Just take a very sharp utility knife and just clean them out. It'll make your alignments much easier if you do that. See, when they're dry like these, it doesn't do it too badly, but when they're wet, see, this one is wet. This was one of the reasons why I didn't want to stain this ahead of time. And it's probably on the other side as well. Yep. So that's it. So I'm just going to do the rest of them, and then I'll show you when I stand it up. All right, I have a new plan. This was one I came up with in the middle of the night. One of those things I can never shut my brain off. I'm always thinking, should have thought of it yesterday. I was wondering where I was going to put this, because as I think I said, it's going to be hard to get it out. That's a 12-foot door. This is 10 feet. That only leaves 2 feet to play with fitting the boom through and the strap hooked to the bucket. So it's not going to be too easy to do. And I was like, where am I going to put it once it's out there? Because I want to actually set them on the 8x8s, which I do not have in place yet. So I'm going to take these. I did not bolt any of these in yet. The bolts are in, but they're not bolted. The nuts are not on. So I'm going to pull all the plates off. I'm going to take off my lifting point, and I'm going to build all 3 of them right on top of this one. So I will have to lift it up again, like on 4x4s. I'll have to put blocks in between as well so that I'm able to drill. I'm still going to drill them because it's much easier to drill them straight down than it would be to do it horizontally. So, but I'm going to build all 3 of them and then take them out one at a time on top of each other. So it'll be much better. I should have thought of that yesterday. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Just take those plates out and start building the second one and the third one. All right, so a little interim here, and another reason why I should have just done this in the first place, and that's why it came to me, because I was thinking about it. This isn't the normal operation of building for me, post and beam. But anyway, you know, lumber, especially this big stuff, is never straight. So by using the one underneath, which was pretty straight, I picked the best ones out for that, but you could pick through a whole pile at the lumberyard and you still won't get 4 good ones out of it. So what I did, and I got a whole bag of these 4-inch. They're the same, take the place of a 3/8 lag, but they're small, relatively speaking, but a lot of grip. So what I did was I straightened it out with clamps and straps and whatever I needed to do, because a lot of them are twisted as well. So with these clamps, you can never have enough clamps. I wish I had a few more even. I pulled out almost, I've got some bigger ones too. These are all 14-inch, which work out well for this. They're not too big, but they're just big enough. And they got a lot of clamping force, like 600 pounds of them. So I've toenailed them in with lags to keep it straight all the way around. And I really straightened out this bottom cord. This bottom one was really, really off. And you want right here on these is the most important thing. If it's off a hair, like in the middle, which I got it pretty straight. I should have taken a couple of clips of it before I straightened it out, because it was about probably half an inch. Oh yeah, I'd say about a half an inch that way. That's why I say you can't pre-cut all these, otherwise you'll be trying to match up the lumber. You may not be able to bend it that far. So as long as this and this part is good, if the middle's off a little bit, you're not going to see it, because they're going to be 7 feet apart from each other. So anyway, well, I just figured I'd give you a quick shot of that. So now it's spoke time, and then drilling the plates in, and this one will be done. It's a little quicker once you do the first one, so I'm happy that I decided to do this. And I may leave them lagged together even, and pick the whole lot of them out together to bring them out, rather than bring them out one at a time. I may do that, I don't know. We shall see. I'm sure there'll be a reason why I'll change my mind in between now and then, but just wanted to show that. Don't try this at home, kiddies. That's how you do it. All right, so you can see how a tight fit should be. This is how they should go in. And again, you'll see where some are thicker than others. On the other one, I had a belt sand that down. You have to do this one too. But the nice thing about having the other one underneath it is you don't need to measure it. You just need to mark the other one. There we go. This will get 2 big lags in here, 2 on each side in there. One can come through this way. We'll have one up through the bottom, one in through the side, and then the other one just has to get towed because there's no way to get at it once you put the other one in. But at least you can get one side. All right, there are all 3 trusses are all fabricated, bolted together, and ready to go. The only one that's drilled for the brackets, which you saw, was the bottom one. But my thought is it'd be much easier to get these all the way up from the shop, if you know where the shop is in relation to David's house in the memorial area. It's a good distance. And I was worried, that's a 12-foot, that's a 20 by 12 door right there, but I was worried that the boom would be close, and I don't want it's swinging, I don't want the tails to be banging into the ground, and then I've got to bring it all the way to the front swinging like that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pick it like this. I got four straps. They're choked on one end, and I will put those to a ring, to a shackle. And my hope, well, actually, what I'm going to try to do is pick them up with the tractor. I'd really like to pick them up with the skid steer, but as you can see, the skid steer is blocked in. That was my fault because I've got the concrete still on the forks, and I've got other brackets, and every time I try to do an aeration, somebody calls me. Miss Wonderful is calling. Let me get it. Okay. Miss Wonderful knew that I was making an aeration and wanted to get in on it. So anyway, so I'm going to have to try to pick it with the Kubota. I'm going to put it on the forks. I'm hoping these on that side, those on that side. I can space them out on the forks a little bit better, and hopefully that will work. If not, I'm going to have to get the Yanmar out and put the shackle through the ring on the 18-inch bucket and pick it out, because I cannot get the skid steer out, which we definitely would lift it. But the tractor actually has a longer reach in. You can be farther away, which in this instance might not be good because of the weight. I don't know exactly how much this weighs, but I want to say this is probably 2,000 pounds. Based on each one of these, I want to say is like 130 pounds. So you've got 9 at 130 pounds plus the center. I mean, it's probably in the 2,000 range, but we'll see what happens. All right. I started it before I remembered I didn't put the camera on. So I moved the forks apart as far as they will go, locked in. I got these loose for right now, and I showed how to do the hitch over these to make it choke. But maybe I'll show it again, but probably not, because I'll forget and I don't have time. But we'll see what happens. Shut this off in between because the stupid DPF filter, that's like saying ATM machine. The DPF, diesel particulate filter, will want to go into regen if you let it idle too long. So we won't idle it more than we have to, because that drives me crazy. We run it for a half an hour. Oof. full speed, wrecking the motor and burning up fuel that you don't need to use. What's the difference if you burn it off? If you burn it off now, or you burn it off all at once, or you burn it off as you use it. Green nutcases. That's all it is. If you believe in that crap, don't watch me, because you're pretty stupid. Ask Al Gore how much electric credits, extra ones, he buys. And our illustrious Jim Carrey flying his jets all over, but now he's gonna use commercial. Only for the election midterm, and then he'll go back to it after. Well, I don't know how this is going to be. I tried to be as centrally located as possible. You shall see. It's always scary. I got it up over the tire. It's going to be harder to get it down, but at least it's over the tire and it's got the brush guard there, so I should be able to go forward. But at least now I can steer and not rub the tire on it. They're all lagged together too, so it's not just the straps holding it. All right, well, there you go. Get a good look at them. It's got a 22-inch overhang, so from here, where there'll be an 8x8 sitting here, but from here to here is 22 inches, so it'll be almost a foot. That will be past the 8x8, which is good. So what I'm going to do is unlag these, pull the lags out. I don't know if unlag is a word, but I can make it one. And drill them out, and it's easy because I won't have to lift them up. I can just slide it over so I can get at the bolts and the drilling action on it. And the next video is going to be, I'm going to set up the 8x8s here on the ground. I got to cut the tops off of that, and this is where it's going to be built, and this is where, like I said, Chris is going to be coming. He's gonna lift it, and I'm gonna set it, so that will be a good thing. I really appreciate that, and it means something to me to have Chris do that, because he met David, and David loved the channel, and I just feel good about it. So I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to put drilling in. You already saw me do a little bit of the drilling, so I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to put it into the next one, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill, do the one side, get it in place. I'm going to lift it up with the Yanmar. I'm going to put a board across there, so I'm just going to pick it straight up as I'm going to set them, because then but when I pick it straight up, I can put the other plate on the other side, bolt it all together, and then I'm going to pick it up with the Yanmar and place it on the 8x8s, and the rest of the roof and everything will be built right there. So it only has to be picked up and moved about 14, 16 feet, 20 feet total is all it needs to be moved once we get it in the air. So, all right. Well, as usual, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.